All right, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the World Baseball Classic that starts up in just a few days from now. Something that I noticed right off the bat is that the tournament will end on March 17th, and that is the 76th day of the year. Just to show you here, March 17th is the 76th day of the year. And the reason why that stood out to me is because Skull and Bones equals 76. Now, before we get into this year's tournament, I want to talk about what happened in the last World Baseball Classic, which was 2023. So I have a section in this video that I made about the Rangers Championship back in 2023, talking about the World Baseball Classic. So let's give this a listen. Okay, yeah, a couple other things worth mentioning. So obviously 32 was all over this. Uh, Back then, I didn't know about semi-primes, but we know that Japan equals 93, and Japan is known as the land of the rising sun. Land of the rising sun, Japan, because it's the furthest east country that's like not an island. Well, I mean, yes, Japan is an island, but it's not like a small island. It's basically I'm not gonna say it's a continent, but you don't really think of Japan as an island. Like you don't think of Australia as an island either. Like it's the furthest east you go, and like that's like actually a legit place. Uh, Anyways, we know that 93 is the 32nd semi-prime, and the sun is 93 million miles away. So yeah, that's just another thing that I didn't know back then. Oh, where I've lost it. Where is it? Here. But also that was the Marlins. That's the stadium the game was in. Is in the Marlins Stadium. Marlins equals 32. Let's look up the 1997 World Series. Because the 1997 World Series was the 93rd World Series, and that was the first World Series that the Marlins won. And what's interesting, so they won 92 games in the regular season, then they won 11 in the playoffs, which means they won 103 overall. Marlins equals 103, Jesuits equals 103. Look at that. Jesuits and Marlins, 103 and 86. All right. So also that year, we had the 76th. So in light of the World Baseball Classic ending on the 76th day this year, the same year that we had the last World Baseball Classic, we had the 76th College World Series. And I want to talk about that. Hold on, let me fast forward through this a little bit. Hold on, let me fast forward through this as well. Okay. Also, it's another thing about semi. I didn't know at the time because, of course, I didn't know about semi-primes. But 626 is the 191st semi-prime. 626, 191st semi-prime. Funny enough, 626 was the number how I found it was basically I found out about 626. I figured it's a long story of how I found out it was significant, but that's figuring out um, the significance of 626 is how I found out about semi-primes, to make a long story short. Oh yeah, of course, is Society of Jesus. Oh wait, no, sorry, it's or is it the Jesuit Order? I forget which one. No, it's Society of Jesus is 191. There. Right, so just another thing about his birthday, that's June 12th. Here, say George H.W. Bush was built there June 12th. June 12th, 163rd day of the year, day leaving 202 days left in the year. Skull and Bones, 202. And 163 is interesting. I'll talk about that because I think it's George Bush. Yeah, George Bush is 163 as well. Um, but okay, let me just finish this. Okay. Um, yeah, because Japan also won the World Baseball Classic in 2009, and LSU also won the Cultural World Series that year, 2009. Okay, let's fast forward to a couple weeks later when Paul Skeens was drafted number one overall. Hold on. Okay, there. So you see his birthday, May 29th. Just to show you May 29th. Why is May 29th significant? May 29th is the 149th day of the year. Skull and bones equals 149. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Okay, so just to confirm, so Paul Skeens, born on the 149th day of the year, most outstanding player of the 76th College World Series, and then gets drafted number 1 overall 41 days after his birthday. Um, yeah, I mean, and drafted by the Pirates of all teams, whose logo looks very similar to Skull and Bones. Was there anything else? Okay, but now this World Baseball Classic. Actually, one more thing that I should mention is that last year LSU won the College World Series on June 22nd or 22nd of June, 226. 226 is the 76th semi-prime. Look at that. And of course, their manager is Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson has got that 41, just like Skull and Bones. And another thing about the last World Baseball Classic, as I showed you earlier, ended on March 21st. March 21st is the 80th day of the year, just like Bavarian Illuminati. And I mean, if you haven't seen my videos on the Illuminati connections with Japanese baseball players, I recommend you go and watch those. But anyways, talking about Paul Skeens. So Paul Skeens is going to be on the U.S. team for the World Baseball Classic, as you'll see right here. And the championship game is 73 days before his birthday. And that's interesting because his last name, Skeens, equals 73. And so I was talking about 32 earlier, how significant that was. Well, we just had 32-year-old Connor Hellebuyck. He was the hero. He didn't score any goals because he's the goalie, but he was kind of the hero in the gold medal game against the U.S. And from that game, so 222 or 220? Yes, 222 is 3 weeks and 2 days. Like America equals 32, and 32 was a huge number in the last World Baseball Classic. Yeah, so 32-year-old goalkeeper or goalie, 3 weeks and 2 days after the gold medal game. And what's interesting is his full name, Paul David Skeens. I'm going to show you here. Paul David Skeens, his full name equals 163, like how that's George Bush's birthday, 163rd day of the year. And as I showed you earlier, George Bush has also got that 163. And I am envisioning that I kind of put these together. I'm not going to go through every game of the World Baseball Classic, but I'm just kind of picking this based on what I think is going to happen, just based on how I think the teams line up. But it's most likely going to be U.S. versus Japan in the final, and so it would be a rematch of the last time. And last time is on the 80th day of the year, and the Illuminati numbers usually favor Japan. As you've seen in the most recent couple World Series, with the Japanese players taking over. Yamamoto, Ohtani, Sasaki, even Dave Roberts, who's half Japanese. And I remember the first time a Japanese player won World Series MVP was Hideki Matsui for the Yankees, which was that 8 years after the new Pearl Harbor? That was the 105th World Series. Again, or is it the Illuminati? Or which is it? Is it Order of Illuminati is 105. Sorry, that's what it is. Yeah, so the first ever Japanese player to win World Series MVP is the 105th World Series. And yeah, all the 51s Um, it's so long of a list. But anyways, yeah, if the U.S. is in this final game and if they win, I would expect Paul Skeens, if he doesn't win World Series, or not World Series, if he doesn't win World Baseball Classic MVP, I would expect him to maybe at least start the game or maybe even come in and finish the game. He's definitely going to play a major part in the script, in my opinion. They probably had the script of the day he was born. Again, 73 days before his birthday, his last name equals 73. For a kid born on the 149th day of the year, to win Most Outstanding Player in the 76th College World Series, now has a chance to be a part of the World Baseball Classic team, which the championship game is on the 76th day of the year. Yeah, tell me about it. I think that's enough for. Oh, I guess one more thing. The shoot, can't remember what day it is, but well, actually I do remember what day it is. But here we go. Puerto Rico versus Canada on March 10th. That's that's Bad Bunny's birthday, March 10th. That'll be Bad Bunny's 32nd birthday. We were just talking about 32. So that game will be significant. That Puerto Rico Canada game on March 10th on Bad Bunny's birthday, that game will be significant. Probably connect to Bad Bunny, probably connect to the Super Bowl halftime show in some way. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, anyways, we'll see what happens with Paul Skeens, and we'll see what happens with the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic, and if they make it to that final game. If he might be the next American hero, we'll see. Yeah, we'll catch you guys later.